sexual violence or domestic violence. So that's also something that we should flag and mark off. In all of this, and now, one of the things I noticed in your write-up is that actually you're trying to bring many generations together in your meeting today. And that some of this is designed to actually create a dialogue or a cross conversation between different generations of activists. And the young people, I think, are hampered by the fact that we don't have, really, to my mind, I don't think we've done the kind of writing that we should have done, and the kind of spread of the knowledge of the women's movement across the board. For instance, I'm not sure how many people would have read, new generation would have read, say, for instance, Irina Sen's collection on A Space for Women's Struggle, where you would find the fish workers' struggle being represented, or the construction workers' struggle being represented. So in that sense, I think our own recording and theoretical knowledge that we have constructed about the women's movement has been unequal, and I'm not sure that we have actually reached where it should have done. I think more needs to be done, and apart from that, I think more availability of these histories in multiple languages is required before we can actually let this generation, new generation, actually see that, okay, this is also about history. Now, of course, the issues are always going to change, and they are going to be critical issues of today, which I think is absolutely right, and the movement has to go into multiple different locations, which is great, but I think there's also a way in which one should look at the histories of the women's movement across regions in intensive ways, in a sense of all the issues that have been taken up. Now, for all of this, I think archiving is critical, and doing a general archiving is very important. I'm not sure if your meeting today is being recorded, but I think it's important that we record, and we record personal record of their participation in the movement, and a range, not just just a few. So I think that is one of the things that we should be doing, because if we don't archive, we actually don't leave anything behind for the next generation to fall back. And some of us have, tried to, I particularly have been both recording and making videos. I've also done a series of films that I've been making, which have come out really from the women's movement and from my participation in the women's movement. Currently I'm working basically on a women political movement, but I've used that in order to actually speak to people about their politics and what led them to join movements. And then, there's the point at which the state begins to regard you as inclusive and then regard to incarcerated, which you can see happening across the board. But, I began that, but I think archiving itself is going to be a very important entry into less known aspects of women's political activism. And I think that's an important issue. So among the, for instance, now, people might know, I think, and might teach in women's studies courses, women's, the mobilization around Mathura is kind of treated as a trigger for the emergence of the women's movement in the 80s, late 70s or 80s. But one of the things that is very significant, and I'm not sure how many people know this, is that open letter written by the three law teachers and the fourth teacher who wasn't a teacher of law, the open letter which actually challenged the judgment of the Supreme Court judgment, was not published in India. It was published in the Dawn, a Pakistani newspaper. Now that's a very interesting fact. And it's also important for us to, when we kind of what's called villainize and demonize Pakistan, that actually, our history has been got a journey, and we have, especially as far as the women is concerned, we've had a common sort of history. We've all had to be with patriarchals in our region. But the fact is very significant, and it was considered to be, perhaps nobody would want to carry it in India, and so it got carried in the Dawn, and then finally came back to us in forms in which it was there put in some evening newspaper, and Vibhuti describes how she found something going home from work, passing a bookstore and finding something over there, and that's how the matter got picked up and taken up by the women's groups, and all groups of people came into existence really to challenge that outrageous sentiment. So in a sense, I think our histories are very important. We need to actually see and recognize the importance of our time, and I do see your event as one way in which you are probably doing this. And I think that there are among the little accounts, and we should also remember that when the sexual violence is now today, everyone will think of sexual violence as the Nirvana case. Okay, so 2012, 2011, 2012, whatever it was, the Nirvana case, which was dramatic, we no doubt about it. But what's significant is that it's not the first time that we discuss sexual violence in Parliament. The first time we discussed sexual violence in Parliament was the Maya Gavin case, in which was stripped and paraded by policemen in the streets of UP. And that is the starting point. The starting point of issues reaching, women's issues reaching the Parliament, sexual violence reaching the Parliament in a critical discussion. Now, among the people we have today are Ajita, whom I have met a couple of times, and whom I admire, whom I also quoted, and I kind of tracked her because she wrote her memoirs very early, and her deeds were somewhat, she was given a certain amount of space in the press, which is also unequal as representation of what issues are. But Ajita is someone who has been better known, and I know Kalpana Karnataka is sitting with her. Kalpana's mother, when I was doing my own round of archiving and I was talking to Maithili Shivaraman, one of the things what discovered is that when Maithili went to Kimberley for the first time, the police thought she was Ajita, because we were looking for Ajita at that time. Ajita had not yet been found and arrested, and so Maithili was regarded as there was a feeling that this could be Maithili, and so in fact in the film that I made on Maithili Shivaraman, there is a photograph of Ajita, famous photograph of Ajita, which I think you all probably see, in which the police is looking very victorious because they found Ajita, and she's been sort of given a central place in the photograph and so on. So the action, the activism, the recording of it, and the kind of, in a sense, over-determining that issue has all got together. And now you have Ajita doing a very solid work as far as violence is concerned, and it's in that context that I have actually met her repeatedly. So I think that I'm making a point here for archiving and creative archiving of the movement. And one of the things that Ajita was very active with, and we also It's a film that hardly anyone has seen. I saw it because I saw it when it was first circulating. And then many years later, when I was trying to retrieve the women's movement in cinema, in documentary cinema, I went looking for this film, and I couldn't find it anywhere. Everyone said, yes, they have seen it, but they couldn't give me a copy of the film. And I was searching desperately. Finally, I found a copy in the January archive. It's a very spoiled, way back copy because it's not been preserved very well. It's probably old technology. But it's a fantastic account of the Calcutta Conference. So it's, you can see women from across India having come. I remember the sergeants from Rajasthan were taken to the Calcutta Conference, and they never been out in a place like this. And I think they were placed probably in some church, in a church premises of some kind. So it's their own recording of it was very interesting. Their own recording was very interesting. I think that's very central, I think, in that conference. What was very interesting is that we had extraordinary sessions on things that we may now consider to be. So there was a session on acre women, that is single women who were not married. And perhaps the LGBT question was sort of a subtext in this, because women who had chosen not to be a heterosexual marriage were also part of this group of the single women. And it has among the record of that film is amazing because it has captured the spirit of the early women's movement and, handling of sensitive questions at that point in time. So it's like it captured the energy movement, but it also captured the slow way in which issues have to be extracted and grounded. Questions of sexuality, for instance, were central. Have always been to the feminist question in India, but had to be perhaps hidden under the carpet for a while till it got its time. So time and history is very important in what movements emerge and how they and I'm thinking, so you see that this film captured all of that. And I think we should widely circulate it. We should see it as part of the history of the Kerala movement, but there's also part of the history of the women's movement across the country. And I think it's very significant. Much later, Jayadevika, for the IAWS, she did the oral recording of the Calcutta Conference. So actually, then we should have two kinds of material available for looking at the Calcutta Conference. And I think that's important for us to cover. It's good that we placed the sex workers writing. Writing is significant because writing has the most significant impact beyond activism. Writing is the one that in words makes women think, reaches possibly every woman, if she's so inclined to reading, to access critical topics. And personal biographies and personal memoirs are very important ways in which you reach women who otherwise don't have the opportunity of necessarily coming out to do movements into activism of a certain kind. So I think that's very, very significant that we have writers play a very important role in transforming women's consciousness, and I think that's terribly significant. I think what's nice is here, sex workers, fish workers are all working in the same space. the way that I think the multiplicity of the issues that you will raise amongst your participants and the people who are participating will go a long way in telling us how rich and how varied the movement is. It's as varied as what is happening today, which can be don't know, and I necessarily know, because we're not writing. I don't think, for instance, there is no books that we have followed up. Illness, space in the struggle is not being followed up in volume 2, which I think is due. I think one should be actually due to this. And I would like to just mention a couple of people here. Simply, I came to archiving from roundabout way because I decided to make this film, which I hope you all see, because if you don't see it, I don't know who's going to see it, given that the times are so bad. But anyway, so you have a whole range of very grassroots feminist activists who have translated the importance of the women's movement into theoretical understanding, into very concrete ways they understand and translate feminist ideas into their own lives. I want to briefly touch upon Sundari, for instance. Sundari has been very active in the Kudam struggle, the anti-nuclear struggle. Now she has I did an interview with her, and among the things, one of the interesting things is that she went repeatedly to jail, and then she has something that called, I don't know, an extraordinarily large number of seditions against her for being active in the anti-nuclear struggle. But what's actually is some of the little tidbits that she shared with me. So she describes how it was in jail, while she was in jail, that she read Peria violently. And then she said, I didn't also read automatically. I didn't write her own life. And she didn't write her own life. So she became a writer by reading Peria. But then she also translated Peria very radical ideas around sexuality and marriage and reproduction to be translated them and very powerfully in terms of theoretical understanding into her own life. When she looked at this whole business of she said that she was watching the television and she saw Fukushima happening. And she said, if they could unsafe themselves, and Japan is such a forward country, it's got so many cars and everything, they couldn't escape. What would happen in India if there was to be a nuclear disaster and it would go? Because where would we go? We would not be anywhere. So she actually translates the everyday information into personalized understanding, and then she actually argues, and then she's a very powerful man. The latest film that I'm going to hopefully next month will be ready. And she describes it. She said, why do we marry? Why do we have children? So they need to carry on. We may as well just have sex, and then whatever it is. Why do we do this? Why do we create a next generation and having to face all kinds of situations. It's happening. I mean, the women's movement is not only seen in Delhi and Bombay, it's actually been seen across the country, and the understanding that they have, which is translating the feminist politics to the ground, is happening. We need to simply be attentive and alert to it. And perhaps even we don't provide enough platforms for our interactive engagement. So I think that this is a very important meeting, and I similar to my old friend and others whom I